5 mistakes to avoid when buying property in Portugal. I made most of these mistakes myself, so I speak from experience. I'm not an expert though. But even my real estate agent said the other day you're experienced a lot of different situations with the properties that you're buying here in the ghost town. Yes, we are. Mistake number 1. Coming to Portugal. It only rains here. Just kidding. It might be an obvious one, but a lot of people still make this mistake. Go see the property for yourself. No remote buying. I have an example. The little house on my other land. It's now for sale at a real estate agent. This little house here. I thought I'd get out of here, but it's still raining. Yeah, so this is a little bit misleading on the website of the real estate agent. And it's also basically on my land, so it's not, you cannot buy it. Yeah, some real estate agents don't check the paperwork thoroughly enough before advertising a land or a house. If you look at this property, you see the house and you see that it contains 1600, I think, square meters of land. And from the pictures of the house, you would maybe think that the land is connected to the house. It's not. The house is on 30 square meters of my land, actually. And the other lands are a little bit further up. And if you would go from this advertisement at the real estate agent, you would be completely misled in what land belongs to the property. I heard about other cases where real estate agents pretend to, they of course make like the best kind of pictures, and but they also avoid sometimes stuff. An access road, for instance, is very hard to determine if it's okay when you're not visiting the property. Location, like the forest, what is the area like, and stuff like power lines, for instance, that might not appear on pictures. I know several cases of people who weren't very happy with what they bought once they came here. So yeah, let that be the first one. A very obvious one, but a very necessary one. Failing to negotiate about the price. Yeah, also here I have a real life sample for myself. This house. I bought it 3 years ago, and I first bought my other land on the other side of the village, and then I saw that this house was for sale. And because my plans for the ghost town started developing a little, I fell in love with this property, and by that I failed to negotiate. I made an offer €1,000 less than the asking price. But in general, in Portugal, here they negotiate a lot. So the prices are a little bit higher on the websites, but it's also, in general, you can bid like 80% of the asking price. The last 2 years, though, prices have gone a little bit crazy. So for some properties, you might even get more of. To get a little idea about the property values here, my house is taxed by the tax office for, if I'm correct, €4,500. You can see it here on the tax sheet. The first one is one part of the house, 2,000. The third one is 2,800. And the middle one is the shed on the other side of the road. And in total I pay tax €20.64. So the indication from the house prices here is a little bit behind. It's not like in Holland, for instance, where they almost yearly update the prices from the house. Here it's maybe 10 years behind. But you can see €5,000, for instance. I paid a lot more. But yeah, there is a lot of negotiating room in the prices here in Portugal. And the last couple of years you really need to keep your eyes open for too high prices. Because a downside of this is that the more money that is paid for properties, the higher the prices of the properties will go. And for instance, for me here in the ghost town where I wanted to buy more properties, it's not very efficient if the property prices go up. So yeah, I tried to do a better job with one of the other lands, but I don't know what it is with us Dutch people, but we were very good negotiators somewhere in history, I think. But nowadays, you don't see much Dutch people negotiating. Not like the Portuguese do, or the Brazilians. Mistake number 3. Be sure that with the property you buy, that you can actually do what you want to do. There are a lot of different regulations here in Portugal than in other places. And before you invest in a property, even emotionally, know what you can do with the property. Because as you might know already, there are different kinds of lands here in Portugal, like urban and rustic. And they all have their own limitations and their own pros and cons. For instance, on urban lands you can get easier a building permit, and on rustic lands you can work with removable buildings or make sure that you have a ruin that is dated pre-1951, registered. So, how can you tell if a building is registered? I'll give you a little tip here. This is the land registry for Portugal, and you have two kinds. You have the old registry, and you need to know for this registry, first of all, what area you're in, of course, but also what section of the map you belong to. Funny enough, we belong to G, for Garridas. And then you see here this very old map. But it's updated, not frequently. And here you can see, for instance, the buildings that are registered. And also what land classifications there are. If you don't know what section you're in, they now have also the new, let me see where it is, here. The new map for parts of Portugal. Castelo Branco is one of the last ones added. And if you know on the map where you are, and you keep track of where you are, this is Garridas. And yeah, I know that this is the same piece of land that we just saw on the other one. And here you can see where it's located. So section G, and mine is number 130. And then it's also, it can be divided in subsections. But with this section G, you know where to go here in the old registry. And every region in Portugal has slightly different rules. In general, they follow, of course, the rules from the government, but the interpretation of the rules and the exemptions they can make are a little bit different per region. So be sure that for your region you know what the limitations are. Make sure that you can get water and electricity supplies if you need them. They are also available for rustic lands where you have agricultural water and electricity, for instance. But if it's not on the land you want to buy, be sure you know the costs of getting a connection. So to give you an example of the power and electricity prices, we had this built recently, well, 1.5 years ago. There is a power connection here, and later we had a water connection here added. The power connection, although that the pole is right next to here, costed 750 euros with EDP. This was built by somebody else and paid separately. We could have built this ourselves, in hindsight. The water was added later, and this costed close to 300 euros, I think. And they also needed like a sort of structure to put it in. They added this themselves from the water company. This is both agricultural supplies, because basically I thought that I didn't own this house, which is urban. So we could have had urban supplies, but for now it's agricultural. Also be sure that you don't buy too much land, because you need to keep all the land. And if your land is located near to a village, or if you have forest area, you're obligated to cut the grass and keep the forest clean. So if you buy 4 acres of land, you also need to take care of 4 acres of land. And that can be quite a lot. One of the reasons, for instance, that some Portuguese nowadays want to get rid of their land, because it costs them either energy or money to keep the land clean. And with that, you might be able to pick up some land for some good prices. Mistake number 4. Not hiring a lawyer. Even if you hire a lawyer, you need to check for yourself that the lawyer actually does what you need him to do. Because if you, for instance, ask a lawyer to check the land registry before you buy a house, and you forget to mention that you also want them to check if there are any debts on the property, like mortgage and stuff, then you might not get from the lawyer what you actually need. For another example of a mistake I made with a lawyer, is we're back at this small little house we were before. So here it was during the transfer of the property kind of clear to me that it wasn't parted from the land. So I should have said something there. To my defense, I said something afterwards. When I asked the lawyer about it afterwards, they told me that it still needed to be processed. And I don't know if the lawyer was actually correctly informed here themselves. So yeah, but if I would have said something before I transferred it, then bottom stone would have come up, probably. It's a Dutch saying. But then again, I might have never bought it. And this whole adventure might have never happened. So, and it actually might turn out okay in the end. So, if we walk a little bit further up the road, we have another good example here. An example of why you might want to hire a lawyer. This is my shed. Half of it. So in Portugal, it's apparently possible to sell part of the property ownership. And I bought this off an auction. And in the beginning, I didn't know what it meant. It said like 1/2, like half. And other properties also had 1/30 or even 1/100 for like a forest. And this actually means that you're only buying one ownership right, a part of the ownership right. So to be really fair, the first time I bid on this property, I didn't know what it meant, but that bid got declined. And then I found out, and I still decided to bid, so it was my own kind of risk. But if you hire a lawyer, they should be able to tell you that you're not buying the whole property. But like I said, keep an eye out on this for yourself also. I haven't seen it anywhere else than on auction websites, though. So if you buy local and you don't have a lawyer, then a good way to see this is the people that own the property are mentioned on the property papers. So those people should also show up at the notary to sign the papers. If they don't, then there's a problem. Because for buildings to be legal, they need to be legalized. Because for the buildings to be legal, they need to be legalized. And on the property that we're buying now, there is a shed that wasn't registered. And we asked the former owner to register the shed before we transfer. Because for them, apparently it's a lot easier to do than after the transfer of the deed. Something that I didn't take in account when buying this house. If we go back to the website I showed you before, you can see on the old map that yeah, actually the whole street part is built, but you see only the middle section. So on both sides of the building they build an extra part, and this is actually not registered. And then a lawyer is also good for checking the borders and the accuracy of the borders of the land. But here also your self-reliance comes into play, because a lawyer 9 out of 10 times won't visit the property, and if you see that on the property itself there might be something wrong with the borders, then you really need to address to the lawyer that he needs to look into that specific case. Something that can easily be overlooked if you yourself are not very informed about what you're buying. Number 5, the last one, but also a very important one. Visit the country where you want to relocate before you buy something. So a very good point here would be to first rent a house if you find the region in Portugal where you would like to go. There are a lot of rental properties in Portugal and for very good prices. So if you know where you want to go, rent something there for like half a year or something. Get to know the area and the culture and the people and see if you like it. Maybe you like another part of Portugal better. Or maybe you don't like Portugal at all with all the rain. It stopped now. We should be getting 35 degrees again in 2 days. Because yeah, the different areas of Portugal, where we are in the center, can be very hot, like in the summer, like 45, sometimes even more. And in the north of Portugal, it's a lot more milder, but there's also more rain there. And the properties are generally a little bit higher in price. And then you have like the Algarve, like in the bottom, and there the property prices are really crazy sometimes. But it's also a milder climate compared to where we are here in the center. So I myself, I went to Portugal for holiday for 4 years before I came here. Sometimes even twice a year. Mainly in a local village where I got to learn the culture of Portugal. And learn to know the people. A good advice would be to get some Portuguese friends to introduce you to the Portuguese lifestyle. It can be quite an adjustment for people sometimes, as it was for me. The slower pace of the Portuguese lifestyle. As a Northern European, I'm used to more like the fast pace of living. And in the summer here with the heat, but also the people are in generally a lot more relaxed. And they don't mind waiting sometime in the supermarket for somebody to make a conversation with the cashier. Also, government institutes take a long time to process some kind of stuff sometimes. And if you meet with your builder for an appointment, it's not to say that he comes exactly on that day. Now, if you want to experience Portugal before you come here, I might have a nice opportunity for you. Because we take volunteers here in the ghost town. You can come experience the Portuguese lifestyle and the weather, and the beautiful countryside that we have here. And spend some time in this region, for instance, and see if this region is something that you are attracted to. You can get some pretty nice deals here. Check out the website if you want some more information on volunteering here, and don't be afraid to shoot me a message. I'll reply. I hope these tips helped you out. Be careful out there.